a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning.
Welcome back to the morning show on Tobago Updates Television. I am Adanna Combie. It's 7:13 a.m. and we begin our conversations this morning. We're speaking with Inspector Mahalia Bacchus of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Services. She's an inspector here, and of course we bring in our weekly updates as it relates to things happening in and around the Tobago over the past week and weekend. Good morning and welcome.
Morning, Adanna, and morning to your listening public, to the persons on the outside, far and wide. I am happy to be here this morning.
Of course, always happy to have conversations with you guys as
Yes.
you update us.
All right. So thus far this week we have a suspect in custody. Last year we had a spate of larcenies that were taking place in Tobago, and we had featured several items that were recovered. We had arrested some persons and they went before the court, but there were two persons that were at large, and one of them was arrested in Trinidad last week and he was brought back to Tobago, so he's expected to appear before the court to answer to some of these larcenies as well. Right. I'm also happy to say that we have recovered one firearm that occurred last night, and we have two persons in custody for the recovery of that firearm. It also had ammunition with it, and they had marijuana, or what we call cannabis, for the purpose of trafficking. So those offenses, those persons will appear before the court for those offenses. I'm always happy to hear when a firearm is recovered, because that is like several lives saved when you get a firearm off of the streets.
Yes, and it's really troubling to know that firearms land in the hands of irresponsible persons, and sometimes you kind of question how. But of course, policing, I'm happy to hear your report this morning of the recovery of same, and I do hope that we could recover more, because as you mentioned, one firearm being recovered is saving the lives of many. I want to ask, I know that there were some road traffic incidents over the weekend. I think I saw one being reported on social media, and I saw one yesterday afternoon as well. And sometimes we take for granted how we use the nation's roads, how we travel on the nation's road, how we drive, and sometimes you might be busy to get to somewhere, but I mean, how we need to I don't know how to emphasize the fact that we need to practice road safety.
Yes, that is so true. And when we started to drive, everyone, they told us you have to drive for yourself and for others. And that is where the issue comes in. Some persons drive for themselves only. So you have that level of selfishness on the roadway, and then you have road rage, where some persons always angry and trying to get at somebody because they want to, as I said, always in a hurry to get to where they want to go. But it is important that we always observe what the traffic regulations are. If there are officers on the roadway, you obey their instructions, these kind of things. It is always important to do that, because it is our safety and the safety of others that we have to take into consideration.
And while we're talking about road safety, that roundabout is something that people still do not understand how to use.
So true.
I've had close calls on that roundabout with people rushing to access their route to get to wherever they want to get. I don't understand what is the urgency. I don't know if they're trying to play Russian roulette. Let us not play Russian roulette with our lives as it pertains to using the nation's roads. I don't know how else to plead to you, our viewing and listening public, to be safe on the roads. Talking about road, sometimes I know the police experience challenges when they have to conduct exercises in terms of roadblocks and trying to intercept criminal activities. And I know, how has that been, and how has there been any successes in any of the recent exercises?
Well, recently there was a town meeting, and Superintendent Mr. Kirky would have highlighted certain things, and that is one of the challenges that we have when we conduct road checks and so on. We have several WhatsApp groups throughout Trinidad and Tobago that continue to highlight where the police have positioned themselves, or even when the licensing officers are here, to alert others as not to pass here, don't pass here. But something that people have to understand as well, if you continue to do that, there are also criminals who are part of these networks that hook onto these WhatsApp groups, and they pay attention. So for example, like the persons who were arrested last night, if they are part of that group and they have a firearm, because the firearm was recovered from a vehicle, right? They have that firearm in the vehicle, and they continue to follow the chat, they would know that the police is here, so we won't pass here, we'll pass so, and we'll go so, then that will, it avoids or defeats the purpose of why we are out there, to make everyone safe, to pull in the firearms. to put these perpetrators behind bars, you know, to eliminate some of it, because there was, over the weekend, there was a report of a shooting in the Mason Hall area, you know, and it shows how persons are just callous and don't care about the safety of others. Where this person pulled out the firearm in the roadway and started shooting.
This happened over the week.
Over the weekend,
oh
yes.
Goodness.
So that's how it is when we are out there pushing that effort to recover these firearms and persons walking around. And you know, as we are on that, people have to become more responsible. You see something, you say something. It is important that you bring this information to the police, because there are people walking around with these things in their waist, normal, on a daily basis. They stop on their linemen, and persons are aware that they have them, and nobody says anything until something happens, and then, you know, the information comes to the police long after.
That's right, but I don't know if it is that some people feel threatened that if they are aware and they report something, that their life might be in jeopardy if they come to lodge a report about somebody having a firearm. Or how do they justify whether or not, how do they verify rather, whether or not this person has a licensed firearm, if they are licensed to carry this firearm. So how do you you know, kind of mitigate that situation?
So that's where the police comes in. If we do get the information, then we can check to ensure that the person is a FUL holder, or if he's not a FUL holder. And 9 out of 10 times when you look at the persons who they are bringing the information on, they are not FUL holders. You know, because to qualify you have to have certain standards that you must meet. And in order to hold a firearm, well, most of them have records, criminal records behind them, so they're not going to have be genuine FUL holders.
All right. I mean, this firearm situation, I find it to be, you know, is a bit much, you know, when you think about it. I mean, back in the days when you're looking on television and you see a firearm sometimes, and you see one in real life as a child growing up, you know, yes, you get a little kind of shaky because you're close to a firearm. And now people are comfortably just sitting in open spaces with people carrying firearms with them. So if you see one, let us report it, you know, just let the police do their work, do their investigations to ensure that this person is licensed to carry this firearm, and that the people around are safe.
Yes.
What are the type of safety measures people can put in place to safeguard their own personal space, and, you know, just in general going out, socializing? Sometimes it becomes challenging when you think about what you can meet when you get out there. How would you advise people to take care, protect their environment? All
right, so before we move on, I just want to also say congratulations to the officers and to commend them for their hard work and what they would have done in terms of recovering this firearm. The officers from the Divisional Task Force, they are responsible for this good act, and I just want to publicly say congratulations to them and job well done. Right? One of the things we recognize as you talk about the safety, recently we had an increase in persons leaving their personal items careless around their home space and so on without securing them properly. One of the hot items we have are brush cutters. Right? This is not the first time officers are coming on this program to speak about things like this, and it is still happening. So we want persons to be a little more responsible. Remember, these items, you paid money for them, it comes like an investment. So if you invest in something, you want to ensure that you secure it well, and that you can bear fruits from your investment. So people, they may just rest it down in the yard or rest it down somewhere in the back of the house, and persons can pass and see the item, and then it becomes a crime of opportunity, where then probably would monitor when the person is not at home and they pass back and they recover this item. So we have to be a bit more responsible, a bit more careful in how we secure and our items around our homes.
You see, the thing about it is this is my yard, my property, my home. Whether I have a fence or a gate or not, this belongs to me. And it's kind of, sometimes it's very discouraging, and it's frustrating also to homeowners and proprietors when you have something on your property that belongs to you, that you paid for, and as you mentioned, a crime of opportunity. Somebody passed by and they see this and they say, oh, I want it. And they do whatever they have to do to get it. And the conversation now is that I must safeguard myself against those persons, when those are the persons who need to, you know, to have the conversation and to be brought to some measure of, you know, so it's kind of difficult. And as I said, frustrating for the persons who want to enjoy the things that they have purchased, that they have paid for, they've invested and sacrificed to have. You know, it's a very difficult conversation to have.
And that is so true. But the reality is we have to be mindful of the times that we live in. And there are some persons hell-bent on to continue do these things, right? To see your item. They want it more than you. You paid for it, but they want it more than you, and they will do whatever it takes to go and get it. We have so many opportunities out there for persons where they could get little stipends for jobs and so on, but they refuse. They refuse to participate in that. It's easier to go and break into a home, steal something and sell it, you know. So we have to be mindful of that and do all that we can do to ensure that these persons do not have this opportunity. We create layers, or we create barriers between ourselves and them. So the fences, the cameras, our locks, securing the items, even purchasing our little dog to put to the front of the house sometimes could deter them from wanting to come into your yard, because a man's home is his castle, right? And it's a place where it's serene to us. And when somebody invades that space, you know, it becomes personal. And it really hurts sometimes when people come to make a report. They have sentimental value in certain items, and somebody, for whatever reason, wants it more than them and goes there and take it to just to go and sell. And on the spin side of that, if I should say, there are people who are purchasing them. Purchasing these items that they know when the individual come, they can't afford it, and they give them at some cheap price. So something is wrong. So everybody has a responsibility to alert the police. Hey, this man come selling me a 50-inch TV for $200. Something has to be wrong there. You understand?
That's right. And you know, talking about this, it brings to mind now community policing. A police presence in communities, police patrols. You know, sometimes you would see police vehicles passing through some communities, and I'm wondering what is the frequency and how has it helped in terms of reducing that measure of opportunity for crime and stuff like that. How has that helped? And is there any plans to increase visibility in communities?
Well, yes, Adanna, we have continued to try to maintain that presence out there with whatever resources that we have. We have gone so far as to combine with the T.T.P.S, which is the army, and we have joint patrols between the police and the army. So that is as far as we go to try to help to mitigate this problem. So as much as we can, you'll find some areas police officers are even on foot. And what we try to encourage is that officers challenge persons, because that is the only way you could be able to get to the bottom of something. Because you see a man go with a TV on his back, walking in the roadway, that is not normal, right? Or even now that we have the problem with the workers, they might find that the police will stop and ask you a few questions, even about the serial number, if you're sure about it, it is to verify it is really yours. Because just as I said, there are persons who are purchasing these items from people blindly, you know, because it's cheap, they take it. And they're not even looking at the fact that it could not be the person's own, but something that was stolen. So we are trying our best.
Ladies and gentlemen, the police are trying, and you know, we just want to live in a space that is safe, a space that is comfortable for us. And so, you know, I am asking you this morning on my behalf, at least for myself and my family and my community, that if we see something that we report, let us be responsible. As Inspector said, if somebody's coming to try to sell you a television, a 50-inch television for $200, clearly we know that that is not an authentic sale, that is not a genuine sale. So let us also have some measure of responsibility. In closing, is there any other type of advice or recommendation that you want to give to our listening and viewing public?
I would just like to let persons know that, as we always say, if you see something, you say something. Some persons may not want to call us or reach our officer directly. We still have Crime Stoppers. There's 211. You could call and make the report, and the information would reach to the police. As much as we can, we try to treat with all information as confidential as possible. You know, so you can anonymously give your information, and we will try to deal with it. Persons with their homes, ensure that your homes are secured properly when you're leaving to go to work, because most of the instances where persons break in, people leave to go to work, and by the time they come back, somebody has entered your home, stolen your items and that kind of thing. As mentioned before, you secure your personal stuff in a proper manner. If you have to build a shed or something, and you got a good deadbolt where persons, it's difficult for them to get in. As I said before, create layers between yourself and these persons who want to use the opportunity to distress you.
That's right, that's right. So let us also, safeguard ourselves. We know that it's unfair, sometimes frustrating to us as proprietors to have to safeguard ourselves, but there are persons out there whose primary objective is to be mischievous and to distress. So let us try to, protect ourselves and safeguard ourselves from them. Thank you so much, Inspector Mahalia Bacchus. You've been speaking to Inspector Mahalia Bacchus from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Services as she brings updates to us and also giving us some safety tips in terms of how to safeguard ourselves and our property when we are away from our homes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go for a short break before we continue conversations this morning with our guests in studio. And before we go, of course, we invite you to share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.